At one point, there was a war between like Chelsea and East Boston.
Right.
I never been a gang member. At one point, when I went to East Boston, a couple times I had to stand on my ground. You know, like yeah, I'm from Chelsea, but my little brother Brian Matias. You know what I'm saying? Like they brought him to Shirley Max. They gave him like 15 years. As the older brother, I couldn't do nothing about it. It really hit me. I never been in jail. At one point, like the first couple of months, right? Like I felt suffocated.
You got a moment when they see you down, just know they love it all.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Bounce Back Podcast. I'm your host, B. Luke. I got a special guest with me today. So why don't you tell the people your name, where you're from, and a little bit about what it was like growing up in those early years.
Yes, hey Bobby, thank you, for inviting me over your show. My name is Walter Caceres. I grew up in Chelsea. In my days, it was prostitution, game activities. It wasn't easy, like any other kid, right? Like, I didn't take life serious, I smoked a lot of weed. Mm-hmm. But I was always crossing the bridge to, like, East Boston, like, at the age of 12.
Okay.
Like, I wasn't really hanging out in my hood like that. I was always crossing the bridge to East Boston.
Do you identify more with, like, East Boston? Or, like, if people ask, like, where you're from, like, if you get locked up, you do roll with, like, the East Boston guys? Or what's that like?
At one point, there was a war between like Chelsea and East Boston. Right. I never been a gang member. At one point, when I went to East Boston, a couple times I had to stand on my ground. Like yeah, I'm from Chelsea, but I don't rep the hood vibe. So I kind of got welcomed, because I wasn't really repping Chelsea, but I would just always say I'm from Chelsea.
Gotcha. So you weren't repping any gangs or anything like that, but if you're 12 years old, are you like now? When you say you're going to East Boston, like you in the streets, are you like hanging out with people that are getting in trouble, breaking the law? You say you were smoking weed, I'm sure back then. I mean, that alone back then was against the law, right? So that's technically like criminal activity at 12 years old. So what was that? What drew you to East Boston was what was going on at home? Did you want to get away from what was going on at home, or was it? I guess talk a little bit about that.
Rest in peace, my man Henry. When I was a kid, I met him at the park, and I said, "Hey, Henry, where you going?" Henry, brought me to East Boston, and I met a lot of Eagle Hill dudes, people from Maverick, the whole East Boston, pretty much. Mm-hmm. And rest in peace, my man. At home, it was, like my mom, she works. To me, my dad, he, is the guy that raised me pretty much. Pretty much grew up with my mom, with my grandma, but then when she passed away, my mom had take custody, took custody of me. And, at home, it was good, but like, I just never wanted to be home, and I remember my mom used to like hide my sneakers, you know what I mean? My sister used to hide my sneakers, like, because, I get it, they didn't want me on the streets, Yeah. But like, I was a kid, back then, and I was just trying to, live life,
Absolutely. So talk a little bit about, like, where did you go to school and how did you do as a student? Did you do well with the work? Did you struggle with the work? How did you do with behavior? Talk a little bit about what school was like for you growing up.
Yeah, so I went to Williams School. At Williams School, I was doing good. But then I went to Chelsea High School. Okay. I really got deep with the weed, and I stole the instruments. And, I got expelled, Bobby. And, so they put me on alternative school. Yep. And ever since I've been struggling, like trying to get my GED. To this day, I still don't have my GED, but I'm gonna work on it.
Absolutely. So, have you taken any steps towards working on that, or is that something you got to kind of figure out a few things first before you get to that, or what's that look like for you getting your GED at some point?
Right, Bobby. So you know what I'm saying? Like with my GED, I always start the course or the program, but I never finish. Okay. For some reason, like I have that tendency of like start something but never finish things. Damn.
I guess for the people who don't know, right? You say Chelsea. You're talking about Chelsea, Massachusetts, right? Describe Chelsea, Massachusetts to someone who's from the other side of the country, right? I know about Chelsea, but I guess talk to me about like what's the dynamic there? What is the racial breakdown? It's a big Hispanic community from what I'm aware of. Was that what it was like growing up? And I guess talk about when did you grow up? Was you like 80s, 90s growing up? Talk a little bit about that, and then what Chelsea was like then, and how you seen it change. Obviously, everywhere's changed, I feel like, but talk about that. Like,
I was born in Peru. I came here at the age of like 10, about 10. And when I came to Chelsea, the population was like, a lot of Spanish people. I noticed that, there was a little like a war between, between the Spanish, like our, fights and game. I remember back then, like there used to be where Market Basket is, it used to be like a mall, and they used to like throw parties there. I mean, festivals, right? And every time I'll go there, and you always end up like a shit show, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Always end up wars and a lot of drama, and I mean, I like Chelsea, as a kid, I used to go to the parks. I met a lot of gang members, but, I love working out, you know what I'm saying? I just, that's my thing, it helps me, like, stay focused.
Yeah.
But, like any other guy, right, like, you're gonna stand on your ground, if you get tested, right? But, like, I don't like problems, I usually stay away from the problems. But, yeah, I grew up in Chelsea, but, like, most of my time I was more like in East Boston too, So, you know what I'm saying?
So you're not out there looking for problems, but if someone brings it to you, you got to stand up for yourself. I always say like one fight will prevent 100. Even just to show people that you're willing to fight will back off a lot of people, because a lot of people want the easy victims, right? They want the people who are not even going to stand up for themselves, right? They don't even want people to fight back. So talk a little bit about what it was like. What Chelsea, is it a rich community? Is it more lower class? I guess talk a little bit about that.
In my opinion, like, my mom and my dad, at the time, I believe they were like in housing or Section A, like not poor, but like my mom, she works, my dad, what I mean, he'll stay home, but like, what I'm saying, like they never had issues like drinking. So we were like in that kind of community, like, I want to say like poor or low class, but at home, what I mean, I thank God like there was never like no addiction or you know what I mean, like that kind of non-function.
Dysfunction, yeah. Sometimes it's the dysfunction in the household could even be more than like the financial burden, right? You could be poor, but if you have like a loving family and stuff like that, that's always a great thing. There's always, I feel like, somebody who has it worse, right?
Yes.
Absolutely. So talk a little bit about at what point did you start? You said you got expelled at school. At what point did you start getting in trouble at school? Was that the first time, or did you start getting in trouble at school before that, or was that it?
So I believe I was like, I made it to like 11th grade, and at one point I was smoking too much weed, hanging with the wrong crowd, Bobby, and I just remember like like no hustle, no nothing, like just. I went to the music class and I stole a flute. I took it to the pawn shop, you know what I mean? I got the money, I bought weed, everything was good. But then the second time, I guess I was being followed now. And as soon as I came out the pawn shop, the cops, they were there already.
Wow.
And Bobby, that was it for me, like I just got expelled.
So no criminal charges or anything like that for that. So how were you? You said you're smoking a lot of weed. How were you paying for this weed? Were you just hanging out with people who were smoking a lot of weed? Did you start selling it yourself? I guess talk about like how you were getting the money for this. I mean, besides that one time you were stealing. I mean, you were smoking besides that, obviously before you got caught stealing. So what was your main way of getting the money for this?
So for the weed, right, Bobby? I'm gonna keep it real for the streets.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I used to hang out with friends, that, they always had weed. I always come in with like $5, or sometimes I have my own dime bag, you know what I mean? But like pretty much, like, you know what I mean? Like sometimes too, like, you know what I'm saying, Chelsea, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't want to say no names, you know what I'm saying? No. But like sometimes, man, like, man, we'll drink and, you know what I mean? You know, like sometimes we'll like, you know what I mean? Catch like the drunk ones, and you know what I mean. But other than that, man, you know what I'm saying. Like, That was one of my ways, you know what I mean? Like smoke my weed back then, man.
Yeah,
You
little
know?
come ups and stuff like that. So you had
Correct.
mentioned coming over from, you said Peru, correct?
Yeah.
So both parents from Peru, and I guess how much of that culture is were you brought up under? And talk a little bit about the Peruvian culture for those who may not know, and what are some things that stand out? Music, food. I guess talk a little bit about
Yes. So my mom, she's from Peru. My dad, you know what I mean. He wasn't really in the picture like that.
Okay.
You know what I mean. Growing up, I didn't really see him like that. But you know what I'm saying. I'm a grown man. You know what I'm saying. I believe in God, and you know what I'm saying. I hold no grouches. You know what I'm saying. He can come see me right now. I still give him a hug. You know what I
Forgiveness.
mean.
Yep.
And my stepfather, he's Puerto Rican. He, you know what I mean.
Okay.
I consider him as my father because he raised me. You know
Yeah,
what I'm
absolutely.
saying. And I gotta show love. You know what I'm saying. And both sides, you know what I'm saying. I'm always gonna show love. You know what I'm saying. And so the Peruvian food, you know what I'm saying. Like my mom always makes Peruvian food. You know what I'm saying. It's good. You know what I'm saying. Like ceviche.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying. They listen to salsa. You know what I'm saying. They have some good food, you know what I'm saying? Like I noticed like Peruvians, they have like, a lot of varieties or like plates and
Yeah.
food, you know what I'm saying? I know how to make some of them, you know what I mean? I feel like it's, you know what I mean, it's good food.
Absolutely.
Also from the Puerto Rican side, like too, like, you know what I'm saying? Like I love the food, man, you know what I'm saying? It's good. I hold my father makes food, you know what I'm saying?
Awesome. Yep. All right, I just wanted to touch on that and shout out the culture and get a little bit of the culture out there and all that stuff. So you say you were smoking and drinking, right? Does this ever lead to anything maybe harder, or was that it, right? Did it stop there? Sometimes they say it could be a gateway and lead to other things. I guess talk a little bit about that.
So see, when it came to the weed, right? Cause I have a daughter, right? She's 15 now. You know, her mom has custody her. They live in New Hampshire. Weed, it's never been an issue. You know what I'm saying? Like I always had a job, especially when I had my daughter, Bobby. I came out responsible. You know what I'm
Okay,
saying?
so
Like,
how old were you when you had your daughter? Just to cut you off.
I'm 40 now. My daughter's 15. I want to say like 23, 24.
Okay, so is that when you started? Like, did you start working a job, or how did you start getting money?
Yes,
then?
at that point, I wanted to give my life the things, like I didn't have. So yes, I started working, Bobby. Things didn't work out, you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? But still, you know what I'm saying, I had to be responsible.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I got a job, you know what I mean? I have my own room, I got my driver's license. I was holding it down, you know what I'm saying? But I didn't start smoking weed, you know? But like, you know what I mean? Late.
I was gonna say, what about the alcohol? Did the alcohol become like an issue? I know, like honestly, for me, that was a big part of like a lot of my arrests growing up. But was alcohol become an issue, or any harder drugs or anything like that eventually?
Bobby, to be honest with you, Bobby, I drink, I'm not gonna say no, you know what I'm saying, socially drink, but my
Okay.
thing was more the weed, you know what I'm
Okay. Wow.
saying?
Yep. Absolutely. So talk a little bit about when you start getting in trouble with the law. When does that happen? How old are you when you start getting arrested? And I guess talk about like for what, and then what happens with that, right?
With the weed, right, I'm gonna share, like, you know what I'm saying, like, I wanna say like a part of my life, right,
Yeah.
Bobby, like, you know what I'm saying, like,
Yep.
dude, one day, you know what I'm saying, one of my female cousins, she lets me borrow a Cadillac, you know what I'm saying? She'll let me stay whatever her house. I used to clean the house, take the dogs out. I got to convince her, like, you know what I mean, let me get the whip, you know what I mean? She's like, go ahead. And I picked up a female in Orient Heights in East Boston, and she pulled out the bottle, you know what I'm saying? Like, no disrespect, it's always love, you know what I mean? And some condoms, and, I got emotional, while I'm driving, started like just chugging it. I just remember blacking out. That's one of the bad experiences that I have with alcohol. So I catch my first DUI, you know what I'm saying? But, I was still drinking though, you know what I'm saying? But it kind of like, Bobby, like, made me, it just made me grew a little more, you know what I'm saying? Jail. I had to do like some kind of classes, you know what I'm saying, to get my license back and all of that.
So you caught the first DUI. What comes of that? Do you just the classes in probation, or do you catch another one? Is that how you end up going to jail? I guess talk a little bit about the events that lead up from your first arrest to eventually having to get locked up.
Yes. So yes, I got probation. But the thing is that So later, you know what I'm saying, I remember I was telling you, Bobby, I did 2 years in county bed. You know what I'm saying, I just got into, you know what I mean, I became an addict pretty much, you know what I'm saying. I started using heroin, I started smoking crack, smoking weed, drinking, you know what I mean. And you know what I mean, like I caught a charge like you know what I mean, trafficking, you know what I mean, and in my possession, they found heroin, crack, you know what I mean, and you know, I went to they brought me to the hospital, Bobby, and then from there I went to jail, you know what I'm saying. But I was fighting the whole time, you know what I mean, like to the point where I took it to trial, you know what I'm saying. And I told my lawyer, I said, hey, I'll be responsible for possession, you know, because you know what I'm saying, like I'm an addict, you know what I'm saying? Like if I see drugs, I'ma use it, you know what I'm saying? I don't sell drugs. And you know what I'm saying? Like I thank God that, you know what I'm saying, they found me guilty for possession, for both counts, trafficking class A, class B. And I thank God that, you know what I'm saying, now I'm at a halfway house and at the Solomon House in Jamaica Plain. And my plans go to a sober house, you know what I'm saying? And I thank God, like, Bobby, like, between me and you and, you know what I'm saying, everybody who's watching these, I thank God, like, I don't want to use no more, you know what I'm saying?
So talk about how you go to the harder stuff. Like what happens? Like the first time using, I mean, I guess, is there a story behind it, or just one day you just decided, hey, you want to try it? People you know were trying it. I guess talk about how you go from drinking and smoking to becoming an addict and trying all these harder substances.
Yes. At one point, man, you know what I'm saying, I keep it real, you know what I'm saying? Like, so my mom, you know, she got cancer, you know what I'm saying? And then my little brother, Brian Matias, you know what I'm saying? Like, they brought him to Shirley Max. They gave him like 15 years.
Damn.
And you know what I mean? As the older brother, I couldn't do nothing about it. It really hit me, you know, to the point where like nobody put a gun to my head, you know what I'm saying? But just to the point, Bobby, where like, you know what I'm saying, the weed, the alcohol, it wasn't just enough, you know, like, so I chose to, you know, try brown, and as soon as I tried the Fetty, not even heroin no more nowadays, right? It just hit me so to the point where like I feel like you know what I mean, I was able to handle my problems, but then, you know, it led up to more problems. Now, you know, the days I was sick, you know what I mean, like I'll smoke crack just to be okay. But that's one of my reasons, you know what I mean, as the older brother in the family, you know, family problems, you know, that.
Yeah,
You know,
I'm the oldest brother myself. My little brother's, he's been in 17 years. He's doing like a 15 to life sentence, and I always, you know, I was locked up when he got locked up, and I just hold guilt just for like living the life that I live. Like I always think, if I went to college, would he have went to college? If I went to the military, would he have followed me there? So, you know, I hold on to a lot of that. Was that something that you were dealing with too, like the guilt of maybe him like looking up to you and following in your direction, or were you guys kind of your own separate paths? Because my brother and me, we would like hung out like best friends too growing up. So I don't know, like I guess talk about that.
Wait, he was your little brother or your big
Yeah,
brother?
I'm the oldest.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay,
But he's only younger by a couple years.
Yeah,
Like, now it's like we're both pretty much 40. But at the time, 14, 16, those are big age differences at those times.
Yeah.
But we all had the same friends, and we always hung out together. So was that something you were dealing with, like the guilt of that, and maybe like if you chose a different path, you would set the example, or talk a little bit more about that, I guess?
Bobby, you know, I relate with you as an older brother, right, Bobby? I felt like I was too focused, like, you know what I'm saying, like trying to work, trying to like, you know what I'm saying, pay my rent, trying to be on point with my car bills, you know what I'm saying? I feel like, because at the time I was single, you know what I mean, I was too focused, like, you know what I mean, like I had female friends with, how you call that, you know what I'm saying? Like, it wasn't serious, you know what I mean?
Like casual, like hookup kind of things.
Right,
or whatever,
right, Bobby. You know what I mean? I was just too focused on me. But yeah, I always give my family time, you know what I mean? I just felt like I should have like give my family a little more time. Maybe things probably didn't go that route. You know what I mean? But at the end of the day, I feel, Bobby, like, you know, God has a plan, you know?
Everything happens for a reason, right? So
Yeah.
when you say you went to trial, right, with this case, Was this something you were locked up for, waiting trial, or were you on the streets? And then, like, when you did get locked up, or did you have to deal with being sick and kicking and all of that that comes with that?
Bobby.
Talk about that experience.
Yes, Bobby. So I got arrested on a Friday, Bobby, and you know what I'm saying, like I had it. So on Monday was a holiday too, you know, like I'm in the cell kicking, like dope, and you know what I'm saying, it was the worst, man, like the worst of the worst, and while I'm in jail too, like, you know what I mean, I thank God, like on a Tuesday, they put me in a MAD program, and then, you know, they give you some boxing, you know, in the form of a pill, and, you know what I'm saying, I was all right, you know what I'm saying, but maybe I had to learn the bad way, Bobby, because, you know, going to a halfway house, you know what I mean, I was there 3 times, I still relapsed, you know what I mean, and not learning, you know, the good way, so maybe the hard way, you know what I mean, for me was the best way. I feel like God said, you know what, Wally, I don't want you to die. I'm gonna just put you in jail, and I know you will change. And now, you know what I mean? Like I told you, Bobby, I thank God that it doesn't grow in me to get high no more.
Wow, that's amazing. So you were locked up while you were waiting trial, and then you come to trial. What advice was he telling you to plead out? Did he want to go to trial? And then talk about also like what jail you were at and what that was like.
And so I was in Middleton, right? I never been because I got arrested in Salem, Bobby, and the whole time, you know what I mean, like the people in there, they thought, you know, just plead out, dude. You know what I'm saying? Because they're gonna smoke you if you go to trial. They're gonna smoke you. And Bobby, you know what I'm saying? Like I'm an addict, you know what I'm saying? And I know, and God knows, I don't sell drugs. You know what I'm saying? And they, you know what I'm saying, that day I got arrested, Bobby, I didn't have a phone, I had no money,
Right.
You know what I mean? There's nobody that would say he sold drugs to me, you know what I mean? And I will be accountable, like I told you, for possession, you know what I'm saying? I took it to trial, and, you know what I mean? Don't get me wrong, like I had, you know what I'm saying, like, you know what I'm saying, like thoughts, like if I lose, I will be doing 13 years, 8 years for the heroin and 5 years for the coke, like, but you know what I mean, like I pray, I give my life to God in there, you know, and I knew, even my lawyer, I told my lawyer, I said, hey, you know what I mean, like about my case. He said, look, I believe you. I explained to him about my case, and he said, you should take, I asked him a question, I said, from 1 to 10, how comfortable do you feel about my case to take it to trial? He said, I'll give you a 6. And then I said, and then he told me, do you know the fighter from Chelsea, Mass? And I said, and when he said that, Bobby gave me the hopes, like to, like, you know what I mean, like pretty much say fight it.
Yeah.
And I feel good, you know, I feel happy. Shout outs to my lawyer, man. I'm not gonna say no name, man, but he was a good lawyer, man. God bless him.
Okay, so just for the people who don't know, who was that fighter from Chelsea, Bass, man, that he was talking about? You talking about the former heavyweight champ? Tell the people,
Yes, I'm talking about the dang dude.
Johnny Ruiz.
Thank you, Bobby. Yes, dude. Yes,
Johnny. Yeah. So for the people who don't know, Johnny Ruiz, former heavyweight champion of the world. Chelsea, Massachusetts, man. Massachusetts, we got a lot of great talent out here, man. I just wanted to shout that out.
God bless,
for sure,
my man, Bobby. Yes.
So talk a little bit about. All right, so you're coming up to trial, right? And you're saying trafficking. So this made it to Superior Court.
Correct. Yes.
So okay, so now you're in Superior Court and you're talking to your lawyer. And was there ever like any plea offered to you? Like maybe, I'll plead out to the, drop the distribution. I'll plead out to the possession. Would like the DA come back with anything? I guess the game that they play with.
Yeah.
Was that anything that they came back with the deal? And was it like a smack in the face? Or we'll talk about that.
Yes, Bobby. So first I had a female lawyer, right? And the female lawyer, you know what I mean, after I explained to her my situation, Bobby, she pretty much said, you should take it to trial, but so many times she came to see me, the way she was moving, she was making me feel uncomfortable, to the point where I know I should have never said that, to the point where I said, I don't even feel comfortable you working in my cage. So now I feel like, you know what I'm saying, like I pushed her away, and now she feels some type of way, but you know what I mean? And I say I'm gonna keep my word. If I say I'm gonna keep you, I'm gonna keep you. You know, I'm a man on my word. But then one day she comes out to me and she says, They gonna switch intent to this intent. So I got 2 trafficking charges. One of them is gonna be intent to distribute, and the other one intent. So you know, I found it a little weird, like, you know what I'm saying. So I said, okay, I would like to go get sentenced myself, right, Bobby? So the day I went to go, you know, to go sentence myself, the DA talks and they say, you know, it wasn't no intent. They say distribution, and the other one intent to distribute. So then the judge, you know, said, you know, it's his turn to speak, and so when it was my turn, Bobby, I said, hey, I'm so confused, Your Honor. You know, like she said supposedly intent for both, and now I'm hearing, so Your Honor, I'm confused. I don't want her service no more, please. Can you please grant me and give me another lawyer, Your Honor? He said, I'm gonna grant you that. Okay. You know, you sure you don't want this lawyer because she's a good lawyer? Right. And I thank God that my lawyer that got me out of there with possession, he was there. Yeah. And the judge said, hey, that's the guy. I said, sure, you know. Yeah. I thank God that he was there that day, Bobby.
Absolutely. So now you go to trial, right? That's a scary thing in itself, especially in superior court. And you pretty much beat the serious charges and get the possession, which you saying like, yeah, that's what it was. It was possession. That's what I'm guilty of. And you get sentenced to 2 years in Middleton and county. So talk a little bit about what that whole experience was like there in 2 years. How come you didn't end up getting like the GED or anything like that? And I guess what were you doing with your time in Middleton for the 2 years? Did you parole? I guess talk about, briefly just, summarize what that was like.
Yes, Bobby. Thank you, Bobby. So, right, Bobby, so I'm sitting there the whole time fighting my case, you know what I'm saying? People telling me, Brody, don't take it to trial, just plead out. They try to give me, Bobby, 3 years and a half with 3 years probation, you know? And this is my first time, like, you know, with drug cases. And you know what I'm saying, like I'm not afraid, you know what I'm saying, like I really want to take it to trial, and that's, you know what I mean, I didn't change my mind the whole time, Bobby. You know what I'm saying, and that's what I did. I took it to trial. So the whole time I'm sitting in Middleton, right, there was a war over there too, you know what I'm saying, like, so the reason why I couldn't get my GED, the first time I get there, I was in 248, block 248, which is all GEDs there, right? And I was there for like 4 months, you know what I'm saying? I'm telling like, because you have to fill up a slip, you know what I mean? I'm like, hey, I'm an addict, I'm not a gang member, you know what I mean? I should be in the drug unit. Right. So people telling me you should go to 80 lower or 80 upper. Those are the drug units. Yeah. You should go, right? And when I get there, man, shout outs to my man from Chelsea, because he was holding me down the first 4 months, you know what I mean? That's God, you know what I'm saying? But then he went home. Right, Bobby? So, you know, I signed up for my GED, Bobby, you know what I'm saying? I signed up for GED. That's the main thing. I was focused on, GED. But then, right when I'm about to take the test, right, because I talked to the guy there. I forgot his name, but I talked to the guy and I said, hey, my goal is to get my GED. Right when I'm about to take the test, Bobby, they switched me to the drug unit. Oh, okay. And, right, Bobby, you know what I mean? And,
one of those things, yeah.
Right. And because, Bobby, I go in the drug unit, the drug unit did not have GED classes. So I was there for like maybe, I sat there for like 4 months, you know, and so I want to say I was switching blocks, like
you're just moving around. It just never lined up that way.
Correct. Yes.
Okay. So talk about like how long is it that you've been out, right? What was the worst part about being locked up? How long you been out now? When did you get out? And what's next for you? And what are you doing now?
So I've been out since May 5th, Bobby, and my plan is, you know what I mean, finish the 6 month program. I talked to my superior probation, if she can please help me out. Yeah. Because she's, you know what I mean, people say that I qualify for the sober house for like the first couple of months, whatever. Okay. So my plan is like maybe, because while I'm at the halfway house, on June 22nd, I'm gonna start personal training. Oh, nice. And if I have time, then I work on my GD after. If not, when I get to the sober house, Bobby, I'll focus on my GD, Bobby.
Okay. So just, I guess before I let you go, right? I mean, a lot of people like to glamorize jail and prison, all that stuff. Like for you personally, what was the worst part about being locked up?
So right, Bobby, I ain't never been in jail. Like the most, it was so that's my little brother coming from jail, man.
Yeah, I
You know
get
what I'm
those same
saying?
calls all the time, man. Free bro, man.
You know, and right, Bobby, he understands, man. You know, so right, Bobby, and I never been in jail. At one point, like the first couple of months, right, like I felt suffocated just being in one room,
Right.
and then Connie's not like, you know what I mean? There's not a lot of movement. The only movement that you do is on the block,
Yeah,
like, you know. I didn't sign up for classes or anything, you know what I'm saying? And so the first couple of months, Bobby, I felt suffocated. I would focus like on training, praying, you know what I mean? And that helped out a little bit. But you know what I noticed though, Bobby, like your body, like, you know what I mean? I adjusted to it little by little. But you know, you go through it. I felt it, you know what I'm saying? Like suffocation. You know what I mean?
No, I get that 100%, man. And I wish we had a little bit more time. I know, you know, time constraints with you being in the halfway house and all that stuff. So I guess one more thing before I let you go. I guess talk about why is it important for you to come up here and tell your story and stuff like that? Why do you think that's important for you and everybody who comes up here? Why do you think it's important for people to come and tell their story?
Bobby, so when I came out of jail, right, the first thing I say, I can't wait to open up my Facebook so I can get in contact with my friends, you know, that I haven't seen. And I seen like a lot of people that, you know what I mean, like that I grew up with. And you know what I mean? I seen also that you interviewed some dude that I was locked up with. And you know what I'm saying? Like I was like, oh man, like you know what I'm saying? I'm gonna reach out to Bobby, you know what I'm saying? Hopefully I can, you know, please God give me the opportunity to I can get.
So what's the main thing, the main message you want somebody to get from your story?
Yes. The main message that I would like the whole world to know is that, you know what I mean, that life, you know what I mean, God always have a plan in life, you know what I mean? And that you know what I'm saying, like life it's a process, you know what I mean? But like if you stay focused and you stay not a follower, you know what I mean? And you make right decisions, like don't use, like one of the things I'm dealing right now as an addict, not to use no matter what. You know what I mean? Use coping skills. That life is beautiful, you know what I mean? Life is beautiful, you know what I mean? You can enjoy so much food out when you're free. You can travel, you know what I mean? Like you can, you know what I mean? If you're a father, take care of your kids, be there for your kids. You know what I mean? The life is beautiful, man. That's my message from the bottom of my heart. Like.
All right, so you heard it right there from my man Wally, guys. Don't use no matter what. Don't pick up that substance, man. Life, it gets greater later. All those sayings, like, sounds cliche and corny, but they're time-tested for a reason because it really is true. So, guys, on that note, remember, it is what it is. What's next is what you make it. This is the Bounce Back Podcast. On that note, we're out of here. Peace.
Bounce back, ain't got a moment when they see you down.